Every second, 1,000 pigs are slaughtered somewhere on Earth. But how does a pig go from birth to bacon? Why are drugs banned in Europe still allowed in your pork?
Or heavily regulated drugs. They were found in beef, poultry, and pork.
And what really happens behind the closed doors of a slaughterhouse? In today's video, we'll uncover the full journey of modern pork production, from artificial insemination and factory births to controversial chemicals and the secret substances that shape the taste on your plate. Welcome to Deep POV. A modern pig's life begins under harsh fluorescent lights, not in a field, but inside a metal cage called a farrowing crate. The mother can't turn, barely move. She gives birth standing still, surrounded by noise, feces, and steel. Within days, her piglets are taken, not because they're ready, but because time is profit. She's re-inseminated. The piglets are moved to heated pens, injected with antibiotics, and monitored like machines. Every variable weight, feed, survival is data. But these numbers come at a cost. Their tails are cut, teeth ground down, testicles removed, often without anesthesia. Why? Because pain is cheaper than damage. In overcrowded, stimulus-deprived spaces, pigs become aggressive. So instead of removing stress, they remove the teeth. This is not a nightmare. It's standard procedure, used in over 90% of global pork production. Here, there's no sun, no soil, no randomness, just an engineered system, raising 100,000 pigs under one roof. And what the labels show, the smiling pig, the green pastures, that's fiction. Because from birth, these animals are designed for one thing, volume. But even in these early stages, a darker ingredient is already being introduced. Because next come the drugs that over 160 countries have banned. But some farms still use them without your consent. If this is how life begins, just wait until you see how it ends. In modern pig farming, speed is everything. What once took 6 months now takes just 3 or 4. Pigs grow fast. Not from nature, but from science. Engineered feed, artificial lighting, tight pens, but above all, drugs. One of the most controversial is ractopamine, a growth promoter that builds lean muscle instead of fat.
Well, it certainly sounds alarming. Banned drugs, everything from antibiotics to antidepressants, or heavily regulated drugs. They were found in beef, poultry, and pork. Banned
in 160 countries, including the EU, China, and Russia. Still legal in the US, Brazil, and others. Why banned? Because residues have shown up in meat. Studies link it to rapid heartbeat, tremors, and even animal deaths. The label warns workers to wear gloves, and yet it's fed to pigs. But the chemicals are just one part of the formula. Pigs live in long rows of pens with automated feeding systems. No grass, no foraging, just concrete, noise, and ammonia in the air from their waste. Many workers wear masks. The pigs can't. Disease spreads fast in these conditions, so farms rely on routine antibiotics, not to treat sickness, but to prevent it. But this overuse breeds something far worse: superbugs. Bacteria that don't respond to treatment, ones that can jump from pig to person. Scientists warn we may be accelerating the next public health crisis. But few listen, because after this stage, the next stop isn't a pen, it's a line, and it only moves in one direction. At 250 pounds, the pig is ready. It's loaded onto a crowded truck. No food, no water, no rest. Some travel for days. Many collapse before arrival. At the slaughterhouse, pigs are herded through narrow chutes. Electric prods keep them moving. The air is thick with screams. By regulation, pigs must be stunned before slaughter. That can mean electricity, CO2 gas, or a captive bolt. But when one pig is killed every 3 to 5 seconds, mistakes are guaranteed. Sometimes the current is too weak. Sometimes the gas takes too long. Sometimes they wake up on the table. Investigations report that up to 15% show signs of consciousness while being bled out, kicking, gasping, fully aware. This isn't a rare glitch. It's built into the system: speed over accuracy, profit over mercy. Even workers suffer. PTSD, substance abuse, and trauma are common among slaughterhouse employees, many of whom are low-paid migrants. But for consumers, this part is invisible. No windows, no warnings, no label that says this pig was conscious when killed. Just a clean tray, a best before date, and silence. Because after death, something even more artificial begins. The part that makes pork look perfect, even when it's not. The pig is dead. But what ends up on your plate is no longer just meat, it's chemistry. After slaughter, carcasses are sprayed with acid to kill bacteria. Feces, bile, contamination, it's everywhere when you process thousands of animals a day. Then comes preservation. Most pork is injected with nitrites and nitrates to keep the meat pink, stop spoilage, and look fresh. But under high heat, these chemicals can form nitrosamines linked to cancer. The WHO classifies processed meats with nitrites as Group 1 carcinogens, the same as tobacco. Still, they remain legal, unlabeled, common. Next, flavor engineering. Cuts like bacon and ham are soaked in sugar, artificial smoke, and phosphates, which plump the meat and make it tender. But excess phosphate intake is tied to kidney damage, especially in vulnerable populations. In the US, nearly 60% of pork contains added phosphates, and the label often hides it. Then there's processed pork, hot dogs, deli meat, sausages. These are slurries, fat, scraps, emulsifiers, stabilizers, all ground, flavored, and shaped to perfection, uniform in color, identical in taste, built for shelf life. Even so, pork remains one of the leading sources of foodborne illness globally, from salmonella to listeria. Despite the rinses, despite the additives, because what we're eating isn't natural. It's manufactured to look like something it's not. And there's one more chemical, rarely labeled, that's quietly altered the pork supply forever. And what it does to your body may be worse than everything else combined. By now, the pig is gone. But what it left behind still lingers on your plate and in your world. Let's start with health. We've seen how nitrites, phosphates, and additives pose long-term risks. But the real danger is harder to see: antibiotic resistance. Factory pigs are fed low-dose antibiotics to prevent disease in crowded barns. But bacteria evolve. Some become superbugs, like MRSA, resistant to treatment. They spread through meat, runoff, even workers. And when they reach humans, they don't listen to antibiotics. The CDC estimates over 35,000 deaths per year in the US from resistant infections. And modern livestock is a major driver. Then there's the environmental toll. One pig produces more waste than a human. Multiply that by thousands per facility. You get millions of gallons of raw manure, stored in giant lagoons. These emit methane, ammonia, hydrogen sulfide, damaging lungs, climate, and groundwater. When they overflow, they poison entire communities. Near pork plants, asthma, depression, and home abandonment are all more common. All of this or cheaper pork. And still, some pork contains ractopamine, the banned growth drug we saw earlier. Illegal in Europe, China, Russia, but legal in the US. Why? Because it makes pigs leaner, even if it's toxic, even if it ends up on your plate. So yes, you can eat pork, but now you know what it really costs. Not just money, but health, environment, lives, and you can't unsee it. The pig fed entire civilizations, but it couldn't survive our hunger for convenience. Would you still eat the bacon if the label listed everything it cost? not just in money, but in suffering. If you want to uncover the hidden systems behind what we consume, subscribe to Deep POV. We don't sell controversy. We reveal what's beneath the surface.